Welcome back to She Asked, Tools for Practical Hope. I'm your host, Anna McBride, and every week I bring conversations, stories, and tools to help you navigate life, the transitions with greater grace, greater ease, self-awareness, and hope. If you've been feeling disconnected, curious about intuition, wondering what's next for you, or if there should be something next for you, if you're on your healing journey or wondering what it means to truly reclaim your power, today's conversation is one you're not going to want to miss. Before we begin, I want to remind you that if you are navigating a transition, healing from loss, redefining your identity, or simply looking for support, you can schedule a complimentary consultation with me through my website, annamcbride.com, where you'll learn more about the workshops, the retreats, online programs, and so much more. So now let's get to today. Today, I'm joined by Min Lee, a shamanic spiritual surgeon, a multidimensional healer, and spiritual counselor who helps people heal emotional, physical, spiritual, mental wounds through her transformational energy sessions. After spending more than 30 years in television production, Min experienced a profound awakening that completely changed her life through plant medicine, spiritual exploration, and her own healing journey. She discovered gifts that ultimately led her on this new path of healing service. Today, we're going to be talking about so much about how to demystify plant medicine, also other types of healing modalities. And we're going to talk about the divine feminine and why it's critical that women do their healing work right now. Welcome, Min. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, me too. So on this podcast, we like to begin where all great stories begin, and that's at the beginning. So would you please share with our listeners the whole idea of why you pivoted or reinvented your life to become this healing version of yourself?
Let's see. I gave some thought to, do I want a long version or a short version or something in between? So I guess I'll try and maybe balance it by doing in between. So I grew up in a household where my parents, especially my mother, was very into homeopathic and holistic modalities way before it became popular in mainstream culture. Me and my sisters growing up, we actually never went to Western doctors. So if we were ever sick, if something was going on, my mother would take us to the acupuncturist.
Okay.
And so we would get the teas and she would brew it in the crock pot. And that's actually how we would, heal. And my mother, again, way before it became mainstream, she was doing bloodletting on us, which I know it sounds a little terrifying. And it kind of was for a young child growing up. But what she would do is if you didn't feel well, is that she would massage certain meridian points, usually like, by your shoulders, by your neck. And then she would prick our fingers. So she would prick the thumb.
Okay.
And then if you were really sick, she would actually prick your big toes, which was really painful. But even though you would fight it, inevitably, after a few minutes, you actually would feel better.
Wow.
So energetically, she already knew, and she was so intuitive, and she was actually psychic. She is psychic. And I definitely know now, looking back, I know that her gifts are exactly what I have as well.
Okay.
So I've been able to make that connection after all these years. So that's a little bit of background in terms of my family. But for me, my kind of spiritual awakening in my path actually started, I would say probably when I was in my, early 20s. I've always been very spiritual. My parents were Buddhist. We would go to temple every Sunday with my parents. They never forced it on us, but it was something that in terms of our family conversations, we were always talking about reincarnation, karma, past lives. So that type of language was not foreign to me or my sisters growing up. You know, I definitely always held the deep-seated belief that there was definitely more to this life, this kind of three-dimensional existence, and that you are, you know, energetically and divinely connected to the people that are in your lives. So for me, I would say probably around 2011, 2012 is really when I started to really delve into my spiritual path and really opening myself up to that. And fast forward to 2020, at the beginning of COVID, which I know for a lot of people was a very transformational, pivotal point for a lot of people.
Right.
I was watching a video on Facebook. It was Jada Pinkett Smith. It was at the time her show called Red Table Talk. And she had, you know, several people on the panel having conversations about plant medicine journeys. And so each person was sharing their experiences, whether it was with MDA or ayahuasca or ketamine. And one person was talking about their experience with psilocybin. And I had never done psychedelics. I had maybe smoked a little bit of cannabis, but it never really resonated for me. But really, I've never done anything like that. And it just immediately, I just knew. It just, something came through me. And as I was watching it, I was like, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Wow.
And then literally less than 3 weeks later, I found somebody through a mutual friend, and she guided me on my first psilocybin journey. And that just cracked me open. I mean, talk about a gateway that opened up. And so from that point on, I started meditating on a daily basis. It was interesting because it was almost like my body and my, every part of me almost craved the meditation every morning after that. It's like before I was trying to meditate in the mornings and I just felt like I couldn't really fully connect to spirit, source, whatever you want to call it. But after that psilocybin journey, I was immediately able to, as soon as I would kind of lay down in the morning, I would just feel so connected. And so something really just cracked open for me. And that was really the true beginning of my deep spiritual journey. And less than a year after that psilocybin journey, I started to feel the call to sit with ayahuasca. Which, you know, most people would say is, you know, she's either called grandmother or mother. And, you know, it's one of the master plants. And a lot of people either go into the jungle, into the Amazon, or they, you know, find different temples and places where it's a safe container to be able to do it. And I was able to do it in, you know, upstate New York. And to talk about a true transformational experience there's probably not enough words to fully articulate what those ayahuasca ceremonies have meant for me and really setting me on a course that has completely shifted the trajectory of what I thought my life was going to be and completely opened up and has unfolded and continues to unfold. So between those two medicine journeys and then also doing Wachuma or San Pedro, which is grandfather, which is another master plant, which was towards the tail end of last year, 2025. Even sometimes I can't really fully believe that this is where my life has taken me. But I'm deeply grateful to the plants. I truly believe that before we incarnate in any particular lifetime, that in a sense that we kind of establish a soul blueprint for ourselves and the lessons that we want to learn, and that we do make soul contracts, not only with people who will come in and out of your life, but also these plant medicines, because they're also highly intuitive. They hold so much wisdom and they're vibrating at such a high frequency that the level of depth and knowledge, protection, and just beautiful energy that you receive from them the healing energy that you receive from them, the insight that you receive from them, the feeling that you are connected to everything and everyone around you.
Right.
That oneness that people talk about in the spiritual community. That is something that you can't really fully understand or experience unless you really kind of take that leap and really sit with one of these medicines.
Yes.
And again, you know, the medicine journey is not for everybody, but I truly believe that you do make contracts with some of these medicines to come into your life at a very specific point, at a very pivotal juncture in your life.
Yes.
To help crack you open and then to help you not only see with such clarity and insight,
right,
but also to gently and sometimes not so gently guide you on your path.
Oh my goodness, there's so much in that story.
There's a lot.
A lot to unpack, because I too have a history that we've talked about with plant medicine. And I can't wait to get into it deeper. But let me just touch on a few things. You spent over 30 years in the television production business. What was life like back then?
You know, it's interesting because I went in knowing at 18 that that's what I wanted to major in college. So I'd gone into Boston University and NYU.
Okay.
And this is back in the late 90s. No, mid 90s, right? I'm dating myself. I graduated in 1990 from high school. Yes. So I'm dating myself, but
okay.
So, you know, I went to visit both of the schools. I went to, you know, New York City to visit. And at the time in the 90s, New York was a very different place. You know, it was really, it was New York City.
I remember.
Yes, in the 90s. And I was like, at the moment when I was 18, I was like, you know, I don't know if I'm ready for New York right now. And then I went to Boston and I visited and I was like, this is it. Felt comfortable. It was a doable city. And I majored in broadcast journalism.
Okay.
Like I knew that I wanted to either work on documentaries on long format. I knew I didn't want to do, you know, hard news. I'd done internships when I was in college and it just was not for me. I was like, the day that I had to sit outside in a van waiting for Nancy Kerrigan to show up after the whole thing with her and, you know, Tanya Harding. I was like, this is not for me. This is not my jam. I give so much credit to so many people and so many of my friends who did follow that path. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, working in television, for the most part, I have to say, when I like reflect back on it, I loved it. It was an exciting time. It was creative. I met so many close friends. I made so many connections with people. I was a producer, director, and a writer for a very long time. And then I shifted over to being a network executive. You know, it was a really beautiful balance of like creative, but then also really learning the business aspect of it, you know, being on the network side for a very long time. I mean, clearly, because I did it for almost 30 years.
Wow.
I really loved it. But there came a point in time for me, especially when I was kind of in my early 40s, where I think I was probably going through not necessarily a midlife crisis, but I think it was more of like an existential kind of crisis of like, what am I doing?
Okay.
Is this really my purpose in life?
Okay. Were there signs that something
There were
needed to
signs
change?
because I think I was also feeling very, I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. If anything, I think my body was telling me a lot of things. I was going through a lot of health issues and had started to deal with some health issues that I think I was ignoring at the time and wasn't really admitting to myself how deeply unhappy I was, how much anxiety I was dealing with.
Wow.
There was a lot of pressure being at a network and being an executive, you know, and back in those days, like everything was about the ratings.
Okay.
You know, you would pour over the ratings, you know, so there were some aspects of that kind of creative part of television that I loved so much, and the collaboration that I just felt like it wasn't enough for me to continue on. And so I did. I actually made the transition. I left that job and I made the transition into more digital online content creation.
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of consulting and working with different brands like One Kings Lane and Wayfair, and then, with JP Morgan Chase and their kind of marketing communications departments. I was doing that, but also deeply internally, I was like, is this really, again, what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Right? It's always like push and pull. And I think also back then I wasn't fully ready to make the leap out of that whole world because I had built my identity and my path and had dedicated so many years to doing something very specific and had really built a community and had a lot of friends and a lot of contacts in that world. When I made the decision to kind of start to really kind of slowly, honestly, like tiptoe out of there and start to dip my toe in different waters, it wasn't an easy or a smooth transition. Yeah. If anything, I felt like I was also resisting it at certain points because even last year, and this is very recent, 2025, we all know that the job market is very difficult, especially for people who are in their late 40s to early 50s. Somehow the level of experience that you have is somehow seen as almost a detriment to potentially getting hired for any job. Wow. So I was, in all transparency, I was actually applying for not only jobs that I knew I was qualified for or overqualified for, but even for positions like an office assistant, office manager roles. At that point, I didn't really care. Like my ego, I had no ego. I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if I can just find like a 9-to-5 job that I can go to, during the week, then on the weekend, I can actually do some of this energy work and really kind of really help people and do what I'm feeling really pulled towards.
Right. Well, and luckily for us, the universe had different plans for you.
Absolutely. And it was interesting because literally I would either get no responses from the resumes I would send out through LinkedIn and through others, other portals, or I actually would get into the interview process and it would always come down to me and another person at the very end, and then I wouldn't get it. And I'm a big believer that if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you.
Right.
So there was never anything personal that I took from it.
Right.
But it was so interesting because, again, now when I look back, I was like, of course, the universe was like, girl, that world is no longer a part of you.
It's over.
That timeline has completely collapsed.
Right.
Like, why are you pushing so hard to stay within those parameters when you are not supposed to be doing that? And I'm getting chills because I know it's true.
Yeah.
And
I've been there.
And I had gotten certified in Reiki level 2, and I was like, okay, I'll start to get clients for Reiki. Again, little dribs and drabs of, clients for Reiki. And I was so frustrated thinking, okay, if this is what you want me to do, where are the clients? Like, I'm ready to step into it, but you're not really giving me anything to work with here. And so there was a level of frustration, a level of resistance. There was a level of like not fully trusting, There was all the things that were just kind of swirling around me that I was like, okay, you've clearly given me not only the kind of spiritual signs, but also the physical signs that I'm not supposed to be doing this anymore.
Okay.
Which is fine. Okay. I can accept that. But then like open the door.
Right.
There was a part of me.
Show me something.
Right. Kind of the producer in me and the brattiness of me came out, was like, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah. This wasn't supposed to look like this, right?
This is not what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. Like I'm supposed to, I want it to just unfold naturally and just flow.
Yeah. Like the perfect storyline. And yet that's not how life is, right? So
Never.
You mentioned earlier that the pandemic was a pivotal moment, right? A turning point.
Yes.
So tell us about the experience that changed everything.
I mean, between the psilocybin journey that really cracked me open, and then also really being honest with myself about the state of my marriage. I had been with my, now ex-husband for, close to 23 years, and we'd been married for almost 20 years. And, he was a significant part of my 30s and my 40s, my entire 30s and 40s. But I just knew deep down that whatever karmic agreement that we had made, it was going to come to an end, because I could feel myself shifting and really seeking something that I knew on a deep level that he was not going to be able to come along with me on that path.
Right.
And that, I think, is always, I'm getting emotional thinking about it because it's true, whatever relationship you have, whether it's with a spouse or a partner or friendships or even family members, the truth is that not everyone is going to come along with you on your path, especially when you fully step into the spiritual path.
Yeah. Right.
And it is not easy.
No.
When I tell people that when you go through the dark night of the soul, it is not just, it's not just words that people are saying. It is a deep reckoning of who you are. It's a dismantling, a full dismantling of who you are at every level, mind, body, and spirit. I mean, talk about being pulled out of who you thought you were, your identity, the ego part of it, all the things, right? And being completely ripped open where you are just completely raw. You don't know where you're headed. There's no real clarity or direction because you're just so in the thick of the deep shadow work. And, talk about really facing your traumas and all the narratives and the patterns and the cycles that you have bought into, that you've continued for whatever the reasons were, right? The nervous system dysregulation, all the things that everyone is dealing with. But there was no going back. Once you kind of see that bigger picture, and you see your place in it, no matter how much you want to actually kind of go back into what you thought you were supposed to be doing and the kind of the old version of you in that paradigm, there's just no way. You just can't go back. It's like being able to see behind the curtain. It's like the Wizard of Oz, right? Once you see behind the curtain, it's something you can't unsee. And you would really be doing yourself a disservice and really honestly lying to yourself if you saw that and then you kind of went back again to how you were and what your life was like.
Absolutely. I only lived like that for a few decades. So what role did psilocybin play in this for you?
So psilocybin was probably, I would say, like I mentioned, it really cracked me open. It was a real, it was like the first step in really opening up every aspect for me of seeing everything. The clarity that it brought, it really cracked my heart chakra open. And I'm an empath, and I feel everything. And I think there was a big part of me that pushed that down for a very long time. I'm highly sensitive. I can feel people's energy and their moods immediately. And even growing up when I was younger, I cried all the time. At the drop of a hat, I would cry all the time. But it made my parents very uncomfortable. They did not know how to handle my sensitivity. It almost, I think, made them not only uncomfortable, it also made them angry. And there were times where I felt ashamed about it. And so I learned at a very young age to just push it down, right? And that in turn actually would come out in moments of rage for me. Because I wasn't able to fully express how I was feeling. And growing up in a very traditional Korean household where you never talk about your feelings. Right? There's no discussion about emotions. There's no deep diving into family trauma, ancestral trauma, how that has informed how my parents operate in the world, how they parent me and my sisters, how that affects us and how we show up in the world. None of those conversations are ever had.
Sounds very similar to the Irish Guatemalan household I grew up in.
Absolutely. I actually think I think the commonality that we have, every single person, is that everyone can relate to growing up most likely in a household where emotions were never discussed. They were never addressed. You just pushed it down. Or tolerated. If something traumatic happened, it was never discussed. Going to see a therapist, unheard of.
Right.
Unheard of. That brings shame to the family. You don't talk about family problems outside of the family.
Right.
Even though you never really talk about it anyway.
Yes.
So that silence is such a killer on so many levels. I mean, it really does such damage to so many, every aspect of you.
Right.
You don't even realize it growing up until you actually start to find the language for it.
Okay.
So that you can fully articulate how that made you feel.
Wow.
And especially now, even as an adult, sometimes I have a hard time articulating and really finding the right words to really fully express how it's making me feel or how it made me feel.
Sure.
Yeah.
So being more intimate with your feelings sounds very foreign. And that certainly was my upbringing as well. I didn't have language that could help me identify with what I was experiencing.
Yes.
Which was interesting because we were a big family and we had a lot of women. I mean, there were 7 girls and 4 boys. And feelings, with that many women, there's a lot of feelings. However, we as children weren't allowed to express them unless they were pleasant.
Course.
Otherwise, we're sent to our room. And I was, like you, very emotional,
right.
expressive. And so I was sent to my room a lot. And to the point where I would get upset, angry, act out.
Yes.
And then I was punished.
Yes.
And it's such a confusing message to be punished for your feelings.
Especially when you feel so deeply.
Yes.
And as a child, you don't really, again, have the language to fully articulate to an adult why you are upset and why it's making you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can actually express it is your body is just expressing it for you, right? It comes out in usually crying and tears.
Yes.
And to have somebody tell you or shame you for that, I mean, it's deeply traumatizing.
Oh my goodness.
And especially, we live in a very toxic patriarchy. That is the truth. To have people tell you, this makes us uncomfortable. So we only want to see women be happy, smile, swallow all of their pain and their, grief.
Or anger.
Right. None of that is becoming for a woman.
Right.
It's all about making other people feel comfortable at your own expense.
Oh my goodness.
Which is essentially poisoning yourself. I mean, that really is the truth, is just poisoning yourself.
Okay. So once you were cracked open, once you started becoming reconnected with those parts of you that you had suppressed, how did that change the narrative that you had been living?
It solidified for me what I had already been feeling for a while, that I definitely needed to make a big change in my life. Ending my marriage was a really big catalyst. It was something that I knew that I had to do. Okay. But I had been holding off on it. Right. Like most people, when you're in a relationship for a very long time, and especially when you have, children, we have a son, it was really, I talk about being tortured about that decision. Right. Internally, the struggle that I was going through back and forth, was excruciating. And it wasn't until I did ayahuasca for the first time back in 2023, where a grandmother essentially said to me, and this is, for anybody who hasn't sat with any plant medicine, this is an internal dialogue that you have with the medicine. Right. And she essentially said to me, it's time, and what you need to do. Essentially about getting divorced, about taking that leap and really crossing over that threshold. Right. And I spent probably a good 2 or 3 hours during that ceremony just crying. Just crying and knowing that that was the truth. Okay. That I had not fully wanted to admit to myself. Sure. And just feeling deeply, deeply sad that the vision and the dream that I had of what a marriage looked like, being with somebody, quote unquote, for the rest of your life, keeping a family together, all the pressures that you just feel internally, the feelings of failure, right? Right. Of letting people down. Yes. Of breaking a family apart. That was that internal struggle was real. It was really, really difficult for me. But after that, that first ayahuasca ceremony and the clarity that I received, it was almost like just validation. That's all it really was like I already knew internally what I had to do.
Right.
But her kind of in that motherly, grandmotherly way saying to me, you know what you need to do and that it's time.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, that was one big decision that I knew I had to make, which I did, obviously end up making.
Okay.
And, the next time that I actually sat with ayahuasca was in 2024. And this is really where everything completely shifted for me.
Okay.
I was, sitting with the medicine, laying down. I had like the covers over me, kind of was feeling the medicine kind of moving through me and kicking in. And, they sing what they call Icaros, which is, songs throughout the ceremony. And music, for most people, I'm sure they feel it and maybe not realize it, but, certain frequencies of music and sound and tones are very healing and activating.
Right.
So at one point, one of the facilitators, I felt him kind of literally right in front of me. And I had my eyes closed and it was obviously dark. And I heard him strumming the Icaros on a acoustic guitar, and he was singing. And all of a sudden, my arms, like a marionette, like somebody else was controlling my arms, started moving on their own. All of a sudden, they flew up out of the covers and just started to do something very purposefully, these movements. And which I intuitively knew that it was something sacred.
Okay.
It wasn't random. It wasn't like my arms were just going weird and doing whatever it was and kind of flailing.
Right.
It was so purposeful. And I just knew that it was like it was activating codes or something was being opened and activated.
Right.
That was for almost 6 hours during the ceremony.
Oh my goodness.
Even if I wanted to, like in my mind, I was like, stop. I would kind of tell myself to stop. It would literally stop for 5 seconds and then it would just go back.
Wow.
To doing, whatever it was doing, all these different movements.
Wow. Sounds very powerful.
So coming out of that ceremony, what I found out very quickly was that it was light codes and light language that was happening to me.
Okay.
So fast forward after that, literally probably less than a few weeks after I'd done that ceremony in 2023, I started to feel the call to do Bufo. Okay. And so for people who don't know Bufo, what Bufo is, it is from the Sonoran Desert toad in Mexico. It is a poisonous toad. And what they do is they extract from the glands and they dry it and it becomes these very, very tiny fine crystals. And then you smoke it. And it's called the God molecule. It's 5-MeO-DMT. And the reason why they call it the God molecule is because you literally, the minute that you inhale it and it's in your lungs, the medicine hits you. There's no delay. There's no lag time. And for a lot of people, they immediately literally connect straight to God, spirit, source, whatever you identify with, or you experience ego death, or you experience nothingness in the void.
Okay.
And that was the first time when I did it, was when my vocal light languages got activated.
Okay, there's so much to talk about here. I think one of the things I want to touch upon before we get deeper into all of these medicines is I think all women, or there are at least many, I was certainly one of them, that reach a certain point in their life where they realize I'm living my life to fulfill other people's expectations.
Yes.
Right? And it sounds like that's where you had reached.
Yes.
Right? I know I did as well. Yet it's interesting. I kind of went backwards, meaning I was aware of how unhappy I was. I just didn't know what to do about it. And I operated from the misinformation that there was something wrong with me. And so I just went about a version of healing.
Right.
To fix me.
Right.
So that I could stay in the marriage, right?
Right.
Not realizing that what I was attempting to do was still fulfill other people's expectations.
Yes.
Right? And
also stay within the confines of the life that you had created.
That's right.
Right? It's like
I have to make this work.
That fear of even just stepping out of that box
right.
is scary as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a moment in time. And for me, it was in my early 30s where I just knew this wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
And yet still didn't know what to do. So I just thought, well, let me figure out how to fix me so I could fit here, not realizing, as you had mentioned earlier, that lifeline, that timeline had collapsed or was in the process of collapsing. So it is amazing what we will do as women, right, to make things work. So talk a little bit about, as you realize that those expectations isn't the life you wanted to live anymore, what commitments you had to make to yourself, what that led you further into this plant medicine journey?
So for me, I think it was a combination of trying to stay within the confines of other people's expectations and who they thought I was or is, along with the expectations I had put on myself in terms of what my life was supposed to look like.
Right.
Right. And, being a true type A personality, which obviously that helped me in my career of television production. I mean, like, I was a fucking great producer and director. I mean, that served me very well, that type A personality.
Right.
Like, nothing got past me. Right? I mean, talk about meticulous, talk about making sure that every single thing was like checked off the list.
Yeah.
Right?
And perfectionist tendency.
Absolutely. And, I really love connecting with people. So on top of it, having to interact with people or even, doing interviews with people. Like, I loved that. I loved connecting with people and doing interviews. So there was so much of the aspect of that life that I loved. But I just knew deep down, and, for women especially, we have this intuition that for most of our lives we ignore. And it's there for a reason, but we ignore it because there's so much outside noise and so much outside pressure and expectations that we really do. We truly abandon ourselves on so many levels. So for me, it was really being honest with myself.
Okay.
And not only was it saying, like, there's a level of unhappiness, just general unhappiness.
Right.
But also knowing that there's something that I'm supposed to be doing. And I know this sounds so woo-woo, but I knew that there was a bigger purpose to my life here.
Okay.
I just didn't know what that was and what that looked like.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was willing to follow these little breadcrumbs.
Okay.
Right? Like Hansel and Gretel.
Right.
And the plant medicine was really my guide. From psilocybin to ayahuasca to bufo and then to wachuma and then to cannabis.
Right.
Cannabis came to me, and cannabis is a true plant medicine. People don't even realize that. She came to me last year, just last year, and I'm not a cannabis person. And she said to me, I want to build a relationship with you. And it took me by surprise.
Right.
And that conversation that I had with her was such a critical point in what I am doing now.
Okay.
Like that literally, not only did it put me on the path of what I'm, at least for now, what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it solidified everything. What happened, I think for me, was that through these plant medicine journeys and receiving the clarity and the guidance is that I started to find all these little puzzle pieces to my journey, right?
Okay.
Was like, okay, you got the certification in Reiki level 2, so you're doing energy work. You're doing these light languages, right? With your hands, and your vocal light languages are coming through. Then I started to channel.
Okay.
Then I started to, people who have transitioned would start to step forward.
Okay.
Right. And they would, come through and give me messages to give to their loved ones. So mediumship.
Wow.
So there were all these different pieces that were kind of popping up for me.
Yes.
And I was obviously very open to it. Like, none of it scared me. I was like, okay, this is what's happening.
Right.
but nothing really coalesced and kind of got solidified until really last year. But ayahuasca, when I was in ayahuasca, she kept saying to me, or they kept saying to me, because the portal's open, so many different energies and entities come through, they kept saying to me, fast track, acceleration, fast track, acceleration. And I didn't really, I knew what they meant. Obviously, I know what the words mean. But when I look back on it, it wasn't that long ago that I actually sat with ayahuasca. It was only in 2023. And we're just in the middle of 2026.
Right.
And so now I know what they meant by that. Talk about fast track.
Yes, right.
And now fast forward to what I'm doing, at least for the time being, with these beautiful gifts that have been a reactivation and a remembrance, because I know without a shadow of a doubt in my soul that I have done this in other lifetimes as either a shaman, a medicine person, a healer, herbalist, witch, all the things.
Okay, so now we're getting into it. So this is more than a spiritual awakening.
Yes.
You mentioned it as a remembering.
Yes.
Or we use the word reinvention.
Yes.
Right? So all of this through this connection to these plants, which I think I want to spend a little time kind of demystifying it, because they get a lot of attention.
Yes.
Right? I myself have explored many of them. However, with a little bit of reticence because of the fact that there's too many people, it seems, in the social media realm that are, chasing these things.
Yes.
And so let's talk a bit about the role that plant medicine plays in the healing process.
I think plant medicines play a really important role, not only in the healing process, but in terms of the activation and the awakening process for a lot of people. And again, I think I prefaced by saying that plant medicine journeys are not for everybody.
Right.
You may be called to step into your spiritual path without the guidance of plant medicines. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. There is no right or wrong when it comes to this. I really want to emphasize that, because I think for a lot of people, they hear, like you said, on social media, they hear the buzzwords, they see these videos for all these different retreats that are offering all the different plant medicines, and they feel compelled to do it because they think that that is what is going to either jumpstart their spiritual journey or in some way kind of heal them, that it's like a magic bullet.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you, it is not a magic bullet.
Thank you for saying that.
I will say without a shadow of a doubt, it is not a magic bullet. All it does is actually bring everything up to the surface for you to be able to not only observe it, process it, start to really release it, and heal. It's just the beginning point of your healing process. It is not the be all or the end all.
Yeah, my experience was that it just pointed me in the direction of where I could go if I was ready. And so things get revealed, as you mentioned, throughout the process in a very accelerated way.
Yes.
It's helpful to unpack this stuff with someone who really you trust and has done healing work themselves. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So what is critical is, so I want to first say is that plant medicines are just one modality out of so many other modalities in this kind of spiritual journey toolkit.
Okay.
It is just one tool. There are so many other modalities that do not require any sort of mind-altering substance.
Okay.
So I just want people to know that you can achieve what you need to achieve and start your healing journey without that. There's so many other modalities, right? The most critical part is actually not even the journey itself, the ceremony itself. It is actually the integration part.
Okay.
Which is something that a lot of people either jump over.
Yeah.
They bypass it.
Right.
Which is called spiritual bypassing.
Thank you.
And they almost get addicted to the feeling that they get from being in the ceremony.
Right.
And so they'll go back multiple times without really taking the time to really kind of sit with it, find somebody to help them truly integrate, whether that is a licensed therapist who is experienced with, helping people integrate through plant medicine journeys, or somebody who's a life coach,
right.
Or just a trusted mentor or a guide or a healer, right?
Yes.
That is, besides the set and setting when you're actually in the ceremony and being in a very sacred, safe container and trusting whoever's facilitating, the next most important thing is really, truly taking the time to do the integration work.
Yeah.
Integration is key.
Absolutely.
If you do not take what you have been shown, the insight that you've been provided with, and you just kind of push it to the side and just kind of continue on with your life, it's almost like being shown. I don't even want to use the term future because, I'm a big believer that time is an illusion. There is no past, present, or future. But almost being shown something that is like, it really is life altering, and almost dismissing it. It's almost like in the moment you see it and you're like awed by it, and then almost like putting it to the side in like a little closet,
right?
And knowing it's there.
Yeah.
And every now and then opening up that drawer to look at it, but not really using it for the wisdom that it really holds, right? And the power that it holds.
And I think that those two words are key, because there's a lot of information, a lot of wisdom in what's revealed to you, and power. And it's powerful,
yes,
right? So therefore, a lot of people, myself, could have been one of them at some point, is that when you're not ready to integrate, it becomes a one of those things, I think, where it's like the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Which is interesting because it's a healing journey, right? And you avoid it.
Yes.
Or you pretend it doesn't exist,
yes.
right? And yet it's real. And in your nervous system, it's real.
Yes.
And these plant medicines continue to stay connected with you.
Yes.
Throughout all the journeys and onward, right?
Healing doesn't happen. True healing doesn't happen without facing the truth,
right?
Without integration, and then also without boundaries.
Okay.
Because what happens is when you're really truly on a healing path,
right,
you realize that you have abandoned yourself in so many different situations and experiences,
right,
that in order for you to actually stop those patterns of behaviors and the cycles that trigger you, and to really truly heal your nervous system and get it to a really good set point, you have to establish boundaries.
Yes.
And you can't even do that without really facing the truth, right? All of those things are connected. They're all so deeply interconnected,
right, that
you can't truly heal without facing the truth. Facing the truth means you're really going to start to do the integration work, which is really, it's painful. It's painful. Right. It's uncomfortable. That's why a lot of people avoid it. Yeah. I understand. I get it. Yes. I went through the deepest, so many months of darkness. When I tell you, I had dark thoughts, the darkest thoughts that I've ever had in my life so far, where honestly, there were moments when I was like, you know what? If I don't wake up tomorrow morning, it's okay. Like, I've never had a fear of death. So for me, it was like, if that happened, that's how dark it got. Right. Because it was so painful what I was going through. Yeah. The shadow work was so painful. The truths that were coming up for me. Yeah. Where really, it wasn't even about other people. It was really where I had abandoned myself.
So let's explain what shadow work means.
So shadow work in a nutshell really is all about doing a deep dive and really facing your traumas, past behaviors, right, patterns and cycles, relationships and experiences. Wow. All these things that have kind of made you who you are, but also how you respond to certain situations. Okay. Right? And it all really goes back to your nervous system. Right. Right? So if you, as a young child, if you were in a situation where your fight or flight response, right? So we all know kind of on a basic level that your nervous system, responds either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's probably other ones. I'm not an expert on that, so I'm just going to say that. But when your body responds in a very specific way to a certain given situation, and it gets triggered, but you don't actually, so the thing with the nervous system is that there's a beginning, middle, and end. Mm. So when you see like dogs and cats, they're always shaking and resetting their nervous system.
Right.
What happens with humans is that we actually don't ever get a chance to really shake off and really kind of reset our nervous system on a physical, physiological level. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that your body actually thinks that it's always stuck in that middle part of that response of what happened. So let's say, there was a really traumatic event for you when you were younger.
Right.
If that was never addressed, it was never discussed, you were told to push it down, your body still thinks it's in that situation.
Wow.
So at any given point as you go through your life as an adult or a young adult, when those similar situations happen or somebody does something or says something, your body responds because it thinks it's still in that mode,
right?
That where trauma. It's not safe, the trauma mode, and that you're not safe.
Mm-hmm.
So you immediately, by default, your body goes into whatever it's going to go into.
Yes.
Right. So either you run, right, flight,
yeah.
or you fight. You start getting angry, right, or you freeze, and then you freeze. I think a lot of the times, especially for women, is usually what we do is that we try and like calm the situation down, right? We try and like just de-escalate as much as possible.
Or we avoid.
Or we avoid at our own detriment.
Right. The fawning part, I know I was just talking with a client yesterday, it comes out with in lots of confusing ways, like people pleasing, placating.
Yes.
Right? Living other people's expectations, as we were describing.
Absolutely.
And therefore going unfulfilled.
Right.
Right.
Even that phenomenon of, I remember when like during the Me Too movement, when, people were saying like, well, how come these women, they still continue these relationships with these, and I'm obviously speaking in purely binary terms between men and women, these women who've been like sexually harassed and abused by these men, that they still continue their relationship, with them.
Yeah.
The fawning, right?
Right.
Because it's a physiological response. Like they're thinking in purely mental terms of like, yes, logically, yes, in your mind, you're like, yes, this person did something to me. I absolutely should be breaking ties with them and never having any sort of contact with them.
Right.
But there's another part of you, especially when you've been conditioned as a woman in this society, in this culture, to always manage everyone else's emotions and their expectations and keep the peace, right?
Yeah.
And calm everyone else at your own, again, to your own detriment.
Correct. Yeah, it's very common.
Absolutely
it's very common. And you're right. And it's societal as well as whatever system you grew up in, family, society, school. It's really just ridiculous how much we've done to set women up for injury. And not just women. I know men too. However, predominantly it's women. And I, for myself, I realized only through the work that I've done, the healing work that I've done, that the shadow work I had to do. I had to face the traumas that I went through. I worked with a trauma specialist and she helped me chart out all the traumas from my childhood.
Wow.
Before I was even 17 years old, I had experienced over 100 traumas.
Oh my God.
And it was just seeing it down on paper freaked me out.
I bet.
So I broke up with her. I stopped going. I was like, I'm not ready for this.
You're not ready for that truth. It's too painful.
And then I went into more healing work with using plant medicine. And I was shown through ayahuasca and bufo what those traumas were really about.
Yes.
We talked about timelines. We talked about other lives that you've lived,
Yes.
that I've done the same thing. And I
Yes.
totally understand where you're coming from with that idea, because I really do believe part of what I was charting wasn't on the same timeline. And it was all to expand me as a person,
Yes.
which is kind of hard to, as a woman of a certain age, to think that trauma really serves a purpose. I don't mean to say that it gets people off the hook for their part in it.
Right.
Yet I was really liberated through the plant medicine to understand the role it was playing, and talk about a fast track.
Yes.
Right? To get me to appreciate and understand and be open to different timelines and the expansion and why and how they're all connected.
Yes.
And so I've been very fortunate, meeting you as well as other people who are able to help me understand how it all works together.
Yes.
Right? And so the plant medicines continue to help me. As you said, they're kind of like breadcrumbs, but they're guiding me through to get connected with other people of similar experience.
Absolutely. I mean, the medicine, the energy of these medicines, it's so intuitive and so powerful that you just naturally will get connected with other people who have also experienced certain medicine journeys. And when you speak about timelines, when you do a plant medicine journey, first of all, let's just establish, and this is not just in metaphysical worlds, this has also been identified by quantum physics, right? So if we want to bring science into it, although I'm a big believer that science is actually trying to catch up to the metaphysics. Time is an illusion. Time does not exist. It only exists because we're in this 3D realm where we have to say, oh, Anna, I'm going to meet you at 3:00.
Right.
So we have to be like, okay, I'll meet you there so that there's no misconnections, right?
Right.
But when you do a plant medicine journey, you accelerate your timeline. Acceleration is such a small word for what happens.
Right.
You bypass and you leapfrog. A lot of people say when you do a plant medicine journey, it's like doing a talk therapy session, condensed, like a 7 or 8 year talk therapy session condensed into one journey.
I 100% agree with that.
That's how much you accelerate your journey. And
so let me just slow down enough to be able to make this clear to the listeners, is that if you are thinking about pursuing a plant medicine ceremony, whether it's ayahuasca or bufo or even a few of the others, I think what's important to remember is that there is a benefit that if you are, finding yourself, as I was, stuck in the therapeutic model, like that wasn't working for me.
Yes.
And so I never been one to like that feeling. So I was always exploring whatever was available that I could find that would help me move along through the healing process. Because I too, like you, knew that I was meant for bigger things. I didn't understand until I went through the ceremonies what that was.
Yes.
Because what got revealed was a lot of the things that I am doing now, yet even bigger.
Yes.
And so, all this to say is that the plant medicine gave me a much wider, deeper collapse, so to speak, right? Understanding of just how everything works.
Yes, and connects.
Right.